friend expects me to wash his dishes that pile up in his sink whenever I visit. A really good friend of mine expects me to wash the dishes that have piled up in his sink whenever I visit. These are not dishes I have used, but dishes and pots that have piled up over several days. He recently got an apartment and it's his first time living alone. I have visited several times and we made food together. I wash our dishes and everything used when cooking as a sign of thanks, as he bought all the ingredients, but then he asked me to wash everything else that's in the sink. When I was over a few days ago, there was a pre-existing pile in the sink just like the other times. As I was finishing up, from nowhere he pulled out like a turkey pan and other big pans with congealed fat for me to wash. I backed and said he was going too far. Later, another one of his friends came over, and my friend asked him to take out the trash. When his friend was leaving, he asked his friend to wash the pans I refused to do. I intervened and said absolutely not, that's so rude. I asked him if he does this to all his friends, and he said yes. He makes all of his friends work. I asked him if he makes his girlfriend wash dishes. He said he tried, but she said she's always washed them at home for her family, so she's not going to do it for him. I told him what he's doing is socially unacceptable behavior. It's perfectly reasonable for guests to wash dishes they use themselves, but very rude to ask them to clean up messes he made in his daily living. I've never seen this behavior from anyone in my life. I have this friend over at my apartment countless times over the years, and never once asked him to clean anything he used, let alone something like this. What else can I say to him to make him stop this behavior? I'm honestly embarrassed for him. Me, 38 female with my boyfriend, 42 male of a few months. His whining is sucking the energy out of me. With my boyfriend for a few months, he's amazing and has helped me be a better person. Super supportive, compatible with me in so many different ways. However, he is very sensitive. I love that quality and it makes him sympathetic with me, and I feel like we have a good connection. Sometimes it makes me see him as an oversensitive, whiny baby. He comes over my house, stubs his toe, and instead of saying ouch and moving on, makes a huge deal of it. Everything seems to hurt him. He is constantly complaining that something on his body hurts, or he's tired, or he just doesn't feel good, and gets very needy. Like wants hugs, back rubs, massages, kisses, essentially all of my attention, and sometimes sex on top of it. Now this happens when I'm trying to work full-time from home, and it kills any sex drive I might have had. And honestly, lately I'm starting to dread when he comes over during the workday, cause he is such a needy, negative Nancy, and I'm a grown woman trying to get some work done. I try to be super positive in the hope that it rubs off on him, but it doesn't. Then he wonders why we don't have sex anymore. But the whining and neediness is a huge turnoff for me. He walks in the door and his eyebrows are furrowed. His back is slumped, and I'm starting to wonder if he does this for pity, which is starting to make me feel a bit resentful. But I have no idea how to bring this up without being a jerk. My dad got into a physical fight with my husband. They both refused to say what happened. I've been married for 5 years. We have 2 kids. We live very close to my parents and other extended family. My dad and the husband haven't always gotten along perfectly. My dad didn't really approve of him at first, and my husband was offended and so hurt that they had a pretty tense relationship at first. But that eased up after the first year of marriage. They're actually on really good terms now. My dad had an errand in the city and invited my husband to go with them as an extra set of hands, which is normal, and my husband seemed perfectly fine about it. My husband could have easily said he was busy if he didn't want to go. They were supposed to get back Sunday morning. They were late getting home. My mom and I called and got nervous when neither of them answered their cells. They finally got home that night. My husband's face was bruised, and he had handprints on his upper arms, like someone with the hands of the same size/shape as my dad grabbed him by the shoulders. My dad also had facial bruising/cuts, and his right knuckles were bleeding. You know how they get when you punch someone? Neither of them by nature are violent types, but they're both pretty large men with tempers. It's obvious some sort of argument happened and it got physical. When my husband got home, I said, "What the fuck happened to your face?" And he evaded and basically said to lay off and immediately went to bed. I just assumed that he had some sort of embarrassing injury, or that he got in a minor fight with a random over something stupid that he wasn't ready to talk about yet. Then I talked to my mom, who basically had the same conversation with my dad. After my husband woke up and I presented him with the evidence, he admitted he and my dad got into a disagreement, but refused to say what happened. None of their injuries are that bad. They both look a lot better today, but they obviously had a fight and apparently are still on bad terms. Though not such bad terms that they couldn't coordinate their stories, get themselves cleaned up, probably stall so they can get home late enough to be like, "Let's talk about it in the morning," and drove 4 hours home together. My mom was initially very pissed at my dad, which is typical. But then when I talked to her this morning, she was like, it's probably just hormones, they'll figure it out, which is also typical. I don't think she knows much more than I do, she's just over it. If one of them had done something awful, the other would definitely rat them out. My leading theory is that they had a stupid argument that turned heated. But my husband refuses to tell me what happened, and unlike my mom, I feel like I can't drop it. Like, that's just not something you can blow off, right? Like, this isn't a boys will be boys situation. Or should I just let it be? Am I overreacting by telling my partner that I'll break up with her after she brought another animal into our home? Last Wednesday, my partner of 4 years found a kitten in a parking lot. She asked if we could bring it home. We already have 3 cats, one more than the lease allows, and we go to great lengths to hide the 3rd one, which stresses me out. I told her I don't want to be responsible for that many cats. I already dislike having 3. I buy all the food and litter for them, and I can't afford a 4th, and said we needed to take it to a shelter. I come home and she brought it in anyways. It's not sprayed, most likely, doesn't have its shots, has fleas, and it seems to have a cold or something that has since spread to our other cats. Oh, I heard COVID can be in cats, you might want to be careful there. Just having it in the house stresses me out. Our cats who normally get along are hissing and fighting with each other. I finally said over the weekend I was taking it to a shelter and she had a breakdown. Said she loved this kitten and that I was trying to take away her happiness. Eventually she agreed to take it to a shelter this upcoming weekend, but told me she will always feel differently about me afterwards. So I said she could keep the cat, but if she did, I was going my separate way when the lease is up because she can't afford this apartment on her own. She thinks this is cruel and unfair, but not only do I not want 4 cats crammed together in a tiny apartment that I will be financially responsible for, clean up after, and we aren't even technically allowed to have, I also don't want to be with someone who thinks I'm sucking away her happiness. Truthfully, I don't want to break up, but I feel like she's putting me in a really difficult situation. Accept a 10+ year commitment to another living being that I do not want, or potentially being with a partner who resents me for not doing so. Real quick, if you haven't yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more awesome content. On to the post. Am I in the wrong for dating a guy who my friend had a long-term crush on, even though I did not know of the crush before we started dating? My friend, 23 female, and I, 24 female, have been friends for about 3 years. During this time, she has a track record of lying, feeding me inaccurate information for attention, constantly trying to one-up me on every little thing, and in general, always in a bad place. This bad place is her excuse. She always has it the worst, and it doesn't matter what you're going through. Her problems are worse and more important. There is never any accountability for how her behavior might influence some of the situations where she went out of her way to make it worse, and thus, in her eyes, becoming more of a victim. Due to this, I cut contact with her when COVID had everyone going into quarantine, as it only made her escalate, and I was beginning to wear my already fragile mental health due to unrelated events. Once quarantine ended, I was in a better place. I reached out and we made up. I do care about her, despite all the previously mentioned stuff. She does have her moments of being generally caring. She regained contact during this time with an old friend who she hasn't talked to in 3 years, Daniel. She invited him over, accidentally forgetting they planned to hang out, and I told her it was no big deal. Daniel and I hit it off right away, and a month later we were officially together. My friend did not like this. Come to find out, she's been crushing on him since 3rd grade. In her words, it has always just felt like the right person, wrong time. She later went on to say that my relationship disgusted her and we were both like her brother and sister and it made her disgusted. This pissed me off, and I barely held my tongue from potentially saying something nasty back. Since then, we haven't talked. Girl, don't even worry about her. Move on with your life. Go with your man. Boyfriend got mad I surprised him for his birthday. Me, female 22, and my boyfriend, male 29, are in a long-distance relationship for 2 years now. His birthday is in a few days. Mine is next month. Well, since it's COVID times and we'll be separated, I thought of making it very special so he doesn't feel lonely and unloved. His family is in another country and he is alone. I decided to do 29 things for his 29th birthday. Not all of them would be physical gifts. Some would be date nights, online cards, reasons I loved him, and all that stuff. All of these would be followed up by a text explaining their significance to him, our relationship, and memories we have from them, etc. Not for our financial situations. I'm a university student that has a part-time job, and he has like 15 to 20K in savings with a really good job. Later on, I will say why I mentioned this. So I pretty much worked my ass off to get him this. Basically, a few gifts came, he was happy. Then he has night shifts today, so he sleeps during the day. Today's delivery woke him up. He got so pissed. He started telling me how it's annoying, too much, didn't thank me for the gifts. Sarcastically told me next time we buy houses for each other. He is mad because it's very expensive to ship to my country. We are both from Europe, but my country is backwards a bit, and that it will be a lot more difficult for him and expensive. Complained about having to spend money on it. I told him I don't expect anything and I just wanted to make him happy. He said I'm making him feel guilty by giving him so much. He said that he would just give me jewelry. This hurt because I hate jewelry and I never wear it. I have a fear of wearing some, which I told him about several times. I told him again and he got even more mad because I'm taking his one thing that he can gift me. He is now mad and doesn't talk to me. Did I do something wrong? Should I not have done this? What should I do? I already apologized for the delivery waking him up. Once again, don't forget to subscribe for more content, and that was r/relationships. If you have any subreddit suggestions, make sure to comment down below.